I still remember the exact moment I knew I had to leave. I was sitting at my desk, staring at my computer screen, editing the same wedding photo for the third time that day. The couple looked happy. I felt nothing. That's when it hit me. I was 28 years old, and I couldn't remember the last time I felt truly excited about anything. My name is Derek. I'm a freelance photographer, which sounds way cooler than it actually is. Most days, I sit in my small apartment in Washington, editing pictures of other people's special moments while my own life just sort of happens around me. I grew up in Poland, and when I was a kid, I used to draw pictures of vans with beds inside them. I'd tape maps to my wall and circle places I wanted to see. Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Yellowstone. My mom thought it was cute. My dad thought I'd grow out of it. I didn't. 3 months ago, I found it on some random website.
A 2004 Ford E250 van.
White, kind of dirty, definitely old. The guy selling it said the engine was good, but the inside needed work. I didn't care. I bought it the next day. My friend Marcus thought I was losing my mind. "You're gonna live in that?" he asked, standing in my driveway, staring at the van like it might explode. "Not live in it," I said. "Just travel in it." "For how long?" "I don't know. Until I feel like coming back." He shook his head. "Man, you need a vacation, not a van." But he helped me anyway. We ripped out the old seats. We built a platform bed that could fold up during the day. We installed shelves, a small stove, some LED lights that ran off a battery. I even added a wooden rack for my cameras. Took forever, but when we finished, it actually looked pretty good. I named it the Wanderer. Marcus laughed at that too. "You're really doing this," he said. "Yeah," I told him. "I really am." And I was. Until this morning, it was just a plan. Something I told myself I'd do someday. But today felt different. I woke up early, made coffee, and started packing. Clothes. Camera gear. A sleeping bag. A box of books I probably wouldn't read but wanted anyway. My old guitar that I barely knew how to play. I was outside tying down the last of my stuff when I heard her voice. "Going somewhere?" I turned around. It was Elena. She lived in the apartment across the hall from me. We'd said hi a few times in the lobby. She'd smile.
Ides Mila.
That was it. But I knew a little about her. I knew she'd recently separated from her husband. I knew she worked from home doing something with marketing. And I knew she always looked put together, even when she was just checking her mailbox. She was standing there now, wearing jeans and a gray sweater, her auburn hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She had this look on her face like she was genuinely curious, not just being polite. "Yeah, actually," I said. "I'm taking off. Road trip. I'm gonna drive around and see the country." Her eyes got a little wider. "In that?" She pointed at the Wanderer. I laughed. "Yeah, I built it out myself. It's not fancy, but it works." She walked closer, looking through the back window. "Wow, that's really cool. How long are you going for?" "I don't know. A couple months, maybe." She nodded slowly. "That sounds amazing. I can't remember the last time I did something like that." I don't know why I said what I said next. Maybe because she looked like she needed an adventure as much as I did. Maybe because I didn't want to do this alone. Or maybe I just wasn't thinking at all. "If you were my age," I said, grinning, "I'd take you on a drive." I expected her to laugh it off. Instead, she tilted her head and smiled. "What are we waiting for?" My stomach dropped. "Wait, what?" "I'm serious," she said. "If you're really leaving with me." "Are you sure?" I asked. "Because this isn't like a weekend trip. I'm talking weeks, maybe longer. Sleeping in the van. No plan. Just driving." She nodded. "I'm sure." "Okay," I said slowly. "Then go pack." She was back in 30 minutes. 1 duffel bag. Hiking boots. A jacket. She threw her bag in the back, climbed into the passenger seat, and buckled her seatbelt. I got in, started the engine, and sat there for a second, my hands on the wheel. "You really want to do this?" I asked one more time. She looked at me, totally calm. "Derek, drive." So I did. We pulled out of the parking lot, onto the main road, and then onto the interstate. The city disappeared behind us. Trees started appearing on both sides. The road stretched out ahead, long and empty. Elena didn't say anything for the first few miles. She just looked out the window, her hand resting on the door, her fingers tapping lightly to some rhythm I couldn't hear. I kept glancing over, still half expecting her to change her mind. Finally, she turned to me. "Where are we going first?" "I was thinking the Columbia River Gorge," I said. "Then maybe Idaho. After that, we'll just see what happens." She smiled. "I like that." The first stop was a gas station about an hour outside the city. I filled the tank while Elena went inside. She came back with 2 coffees, a bag of chips, and a pack of gum. "I didn't know what you wanted," she said, handing me a coffee. "So I guessed." "Thanks," I said. We leaned against the van, drinking our coffee, watching cars pull in and out. A family with 3 kids piled out of a minivan. An older guy on a motorcycle filled up next to us. A couple argued quietly by the air pump. "This is surreal," Elena said. "What is?" "This. All of it. Yesterday I was sitting in my apartment wondering what I was doing with my life. Today I'm standing at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, about to drive across the country with someone I barely know." I laughed. "Yeah, it's pretty weird." "Good weird, though," she said. "Definitely good weird." We got back in and kept driving. The road curved through forests, past rivers, over bridges. We didn't talk much, but it wasn't awkward. It was comfortable, like we'd done this before. By late afternoon, we were deep into the gorge. Cliffs rose up on both sides. Waterfalls tumbled down the rocks. Everything was green and alive. "Can we stop?" Elena asked suddenly. I pulled over at a viewpoint. We got out and walked to the edge. The river stretched out below us, wide and blue. Wind whipped through the trees. "This is incredible," she said. I pulled out my camera and started shooting. Elena wandered along the trail, her hands in her pockets, looking out at the water. I took a few pictures of her without her noticing. Later, she'd ask to see them, and I'd show her and she'd smile. We didn't make it far that first day. By the time the sun started dropping, we were only a few hours from home. I pulled into a campground just outside a small town I'd never heard of. There were maybe 5 other vehicles scattered around, mostly RVs with families setting up folding chairs and starting fires. I parked the Wanderer under a huge pine tree and shut off the engine. Elena stretched her arms over her head. "So this is home for the night?" "Yeah," I said. "Unless you want to find a motel or something." She shook her head. "No. This is perfect." I grabbed the sleeping bag and a couple of blankets from the back. The bed was decent, but not huge. I'd built it for 1 person, maybe 2 if they didn't mind being close. "You take the bed," I said. "I'll sleep up front." Elena looked at me like I was joking. "Derek, you're not sleeping in the front seat. You'll wake up with your neck completely messed up." "I'll be fine," I said. She rolled her eyes. "We're both adults. We can share a bed without it being weird. But if you want to be uncomfortable, go ahead." I didn't argue. I just nodded, grabbed a blanket, and climbed into the driver's seat. I reclined it as far as it would go, which wasn't far, and tried to get comfortable. Through the windshield, I could see stars starting to appear. Somewhere in the distance, I heard voices and laughter. I closed my eyes. I didn't sleep much. The seat was hard, and every time I moved, something hurt. Around midnight, I gave up and just stared at the ceiling. I heard shuffling from the back. Then a soft knock on the window next to my head. I turned. Elena was standing outside in sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair loose around her shoulders. I rolled down the window. "You okay?" I asked. She smiled. "I should be asking you that. You look miserable." "I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar." She opened the door. "Come on. Get in the back. There's plenty of room." I hesitated. She sighed. "Derek, I'm not gonna bite you. Just get some actual sleep." So I did. I climbed into the back, and she was right. There was enough space. I stayed on one side, she stayed on the other. We didn't touch. We didn't talk. I fell asleep in about 5 minutes. I woke up to the smell of coffee. Actual coffee, not the instant kind. I sat up, confused. Elena was outside, crouched next to the small camp stove, pouring water into 2 mugs. "Morning," she called when she saw me. I climbed out, my body stiff but not nearly as bad as it would have been if I'd stayed in the front seat. "You made coffee?" "I found the stove," she said. "Figured I'd put it to use." We sat on the bumper, drinking coffee and watching the campground wake up. A dog barked. A kid on a bike rode past. Someone started their engine. "This is nice," Elena said. "Yeah," I agreed. "It really is." After we packed up, we hit the road again. The plan, if you could call it that, was to head toward Idaho. But we kept stopping. Every little town, every weird roadside attraction, every scenic overlook. Elena wanted to see everything. We stopped at a fruit stand and bought apples. We stopped at a place that sold homemade pies. We stopped at a pullout just to take pictures of a mountain in the distance. At one point, we passed a giant statue of a lumberjack holding an axe. It was ridiculous. "We have to stop," Elena said.
I pulled over.
We took about 20 photos. Me pretending to arm wrestle the statue. Elena sitting on its boot. Both of us standing next to it looking serious. We were laughing so hard we could barely stand up straight. By late afternoon, we crossed into Idaho. The landscape started to change. Less trees, more open space. Fields of wheat that went on forever. The sky felt bigger somehow. "I forgot how much space there is out here," Elena said. "You've done this before?" "Not like this," she said. "But I used to take road trips with my family when I was a kid. We'd drive to national parks, camp, the whole thing. I loved it." "What happened?" She shrugged. "I grew up. Got busy. Got married. Stopped doing things just because they sounded fun." She looked at me. "What about you? Why now?" I thought about it. "I don't know. I guess I got tired of waiting for the right time. There's never a right time. So I just decided to go." She nodded. "That makes sense." We found another campground that night, this one emptier than the last. I parked near the edge, away from everyone else. We made dinner on the stove. Just pasta and some Jared sauce, but it tasted better than it had any right to. After we ate, we sat outside on a blanket, leaning against the van. The sky was turning dark purple, and stars were starting to punch through. "Can I ask you something?" Elena said. "Sure. Why did you invite me? I mean, really, you didn't have to." I didn't answer right away. "Honestly, I don't know. I think I just didn't want to do this alone. And you seemed like you needed it as much as I did." She smiled. "I did."
I do.
"What about you?" I asked. "Why did you say yes?" "Same reason," she said. "I was tired of waiting for my life to start feeling like mine again." We sat there for a while, not talking, just watching the sky. Somewhere nearby, an owl called out. The air smelled like dirt and pine. "This was a good idea," Elena said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "It really was." That night, we didn't even discuss the sleeping arrangement. We both just climbed into the back, stayed on our own sides, and fell asleep. Over the next few days, we found a rhythm. I'd drive. She'd navigate, reading from a paper map she'd bought at a gas station. We'd listen to the radio, sometimes singing along, sometimes just letting the music fill the space. We'd stop whenever we felt like it. Diners with peeling paint and waitresses who called us honey. Overlooks where we'd sit on the hood and stare at mountains. Small museums with dusty displays about local history. One afternoon, we stopped at a lake. It was completely still, like glass. There was no one around. "Let's swim," Elena said. "It's freezing," I said. "So?" She was already taking off her shoes. I watched her walk into the water, laughing as it got deeper. She turned back. "Come on. Don't be boring." I sighed, kicked off my shoes, and followed her in. She was right. It was freezing, but it was also perfect. We stayed in for maybe 5 minutes before running back to the van, shivering and laughing. We sat on a rock in the sun, drying off. "I'm glad I came," Elena said. "Me too," I said, and I meant it. 2 weeks in, and my neck finally stopped hurting. Elena had been right about the front seat. I should have listened to her from the start. We were somewhere in Montana now, parked at the edge of a forest that seemed to go on forever. I could hear birds I didn't recognize and wind moving through branches above us. Elena was still asleep in the back. I grabbed my camera and stepped outside, careful not to slam the door. The air was cold enough that I could see my breath. I took a few shots of the trees, the way light was breaking through the leaves, the mist hanging low over the ground. When I climbed back in, Elena was sitting up, wrapped in a blanket, her hair messy and her eyes half open. "What time is it?" she asked. "Early," I said. "Go back to sleep." "Can't now," she said, yawning.
I'm awake.
She made coffee while I packed up our stuff. We'd gotten good at this part. Everything had a place. The stove folded up and fit under the bed. The blankets rolled tight and tucked into a corner. My cameras went into padded bags that slid into the overhead shelf. We didn't waste time anymore. By the time the sun was fully up, we were already driving. The road twisted through valleys and climbed over hills that seemed too steep for the wanderer to handle, but it kept going. Elena had the map spread across her lap, tracing our route with her finger. "There's a national park about 3 hours from here," she said. "Glacier. Ever been?" "No," I said. "You?" "Once. A long time ago. I was maybe 10. I barely remember it." "Then let's go." We arrived just after lunch. The park was massive. Mountains with snow still clinging to the tops even though it was summer. Lakes so blue they didn't look real. Trails that disappeared into the forest. We parked and started walking. The first trail we picked was supposed to be easy, but it wasn't. Kept climbing, winding up the side of a mountain. My legs burned. Elena was breathing hard but didn't complain. After about an hour, we reached the top. There was a lake up there, tucked between two peaks. The water was perfectly still. You could see straight to the bottom even though it had to be at least 20 feet deep. "This is unbelievable," Elena said. We sat on a flat rock near the edge, passing a water bottle back and forth. Neither of us said anything for a while. We didn't need to. "I keep thinking about what I was doing 2 weeks ago," Elena said finally. "I was sitting in my apartment, staring at my phone, wondering if I should text my ex, wondering if I made a mistake leaving, wondering if I'd ever feel okay again." She looked at me, "And now I'm here, and I feel more okay than I have in years." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. "Thank you for letting me come," she said. "You didn't let me do anything," I said. "You just decided and showed up." She smiled. "Still, thank you." That night, we stayed at a campground inside the park. It was crowded. Families everywhere. Kids running around. People grilling burgers and hot dogs. We made sandwiches and ate them sitting on the back bumper of the van. A little girl from the campsite next to us wandered over. She was maybe 6, holding a stuffed bear. "Is that your house?" she asked, pointing at the wanderer. "Kind of," I said. Her eyes went wide. "You live in there?" "Just for now," Elena said. "We're traveling." "Where are you going?" "Everywhere," I said. The girl thought about that. Then she nodded seriously, like it made perfect sense, and ran back to her family. "Kids get it," Elena said. "They don't overthink things. They just think living in a van and driving around sounds cool." "It is cool," I said. She laughed. "Yeah, it really is." We climbed into the back earlier than usual that night. The campground was loud, and we were both tired from hiking. I lay on my side, facing the wall. Elena was on her back, staring up at the ceiling. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Do you ever regret it? Leaving?" I thought about it.
No.
"Not even a little." "You?" "No," she said. "Not for a second." There was a pause. Then she said, "I was scared, though, when I packed my bag that first day. I almost didn't come. I kept thinking, what if this is a mistake? What if I'm just running away?" "Are you?" I asked. "Running away?" "Maybe," she said. "But I think that's okay. Sometimes you need to run before you can figure out where you actually want to be." I rolled over to face her. She turned her head toward me. We were close enough that I could see the tiny freckles on her nose that I'd never noticed before. "I'm glad you didn't change your mind," I said. "Me too," she said. Something shifted in that moment. I don't know how to explain it. It was like all the space we'd been keeping between us just disappeared. She reached out and took my hand. I didn't pull away. We fell asleep like that, fingers laced together, the sounds of the campground fading into the background. Over the next week, things were different. Not bad different, just different. We still drove. We still stopped at random places. We still cooked terrible meals on the camp stove and laughed about how bad they were. But now we held hands while we walked. Now we sat closer when we watched the sunset. Now when we climbed into the back of the van at night, we didn't stay on opposite sides. One night, we were parked near a lake in Wyoming. The stars were out, brighter than I'd ever seen them. We were sitting outside on a blanket, sharing a bag of chips and a bottle of cheap wine we'd bought at a gas station. "I don't want this to end," Elena said quietly. "It doesn't have to," I said. "Eventually we'll run out of road. Then we'll turn around and find more." She smiled. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple," I said. "We just keep going." She looked at me for a long time. Then she leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't uncertain. It was easy like everything else between us had been. When she pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "I didn't plan for this," she said. "For what?" "For you. For us. For any of this." "Me neither," I said. "But I'm not complaining." She laughed softly. "Good. Because I'm not either." We stayed outside until the cold drove us back into the van. We lay tangled up in blankets, her head on my chest, my arm around her shoulders. I could hear her breathing slow down as she fell asleep. I stayed awake a little longer, staring up at the ceiling, thinking about how strange life was. 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know her. Now I couldn't imagine doing this without her. I didn't know what would happen when we got home. I didn't know if this was just a trip or if it was something more. But right then, it didn't matter. Right then, everything was exactly how it was supposed to be. We'd been gone for almost 2 months when I first started thinking about going home. Not because I wanted to, just because it was there, sitting in the back of my mind like something I'd forgotten to do. We were driving through Colorado, the mountains rising up on both sides of the road, when Elena said it out loud. "Do you think we should start heading back?"
Ik glänst over here.
She was looking out the window, her hand resting on the door. "Do you want to?" I asked. She was quiet for a minute. "I don't know. Part of me wants to keep going forever. But another part of me knows we can't." "Why not?" "Because eventually the money runs out. Because eventually the van breaks down. Because eventually real life catches up." I didn't argue because she was right. We'd been living off savings and freelance work I did whenever we had decent internet. It wasn't sustainable forever. "Okay," I said. "Then let's start heading back. Slowly." She smiled. Slowly. We didn't rush. We took our time, stopping at places we'd missed on the way out. We spent 3 days in Utah, hiking through Red Rock canyons. We spent a week in Oregon, camping near the coast and watching the waves crash against the cliffs. We stopped at diners and took pictures and collected memories like souvenirs. But the closer we got to home, the quieter Elena became. One night, we were parked at a rest stop just a few hours from the city. We were sitting in the back of the van, the doors open, our legs dangling off the edge. "What happens when we get back?" she asked. I'd been avoiding that question. "I don't know," I said. "Do you want to go back to your apartment?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Nothing there feels like home." "Then don't go back." She looked at me. "What do you mean?" "I mean, stay with me. We'll figure it out." "Derek, we barely know each other." "That's not true," I said. "I know you hate mornings. I know you take your coffee with way too much sugar. I know you sing off key and you always pick the hardest hiking trails even though you complain the whole time. I know you laugh at your own jokes before you finish telling them. I know you." She smiled, but her eyes were wet. "You really want me to stay?" "Yeah," I said. "I really do." She kissed me then, and when she pulled back, she nodded. Okay. We got back late on a Sunday. The city looked smaller than I remembered. The buildings, the streets, even the people seemed different. Or maybe I was different. I pulled into the parking lot of our apartment building and turned off the engine. We sat there for a minute, not moving. Well, Elena said, we're home. Yeah, I said. We grabbed our bags and walked up to my apartment. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Everything was exactly how I'd left it. The furniture, the dishes in the sink, the stack of mail on the counter. But it felt foreign, like I was walking into someone else's life. Elena set her bag down and looked around. It's smaller than I remember, she said. Yeah, I said. It is. That night, we ordered pizza and sat on the floor eating it straight from the box. We didn't talk much. We were both too tired. The next few days were strange. We fell into a routine, but it felt fragile, like we were playing house and pretending everything was normal. Elena worked on her laptop at the kitchen table. I edited photos. We cooked dinner together. We watched TV. But at night, when we climbed into bed, it felt real again. 1 week after we got back, Elena started bringing her stuff over. Not all at once. Just a little at a time. A box of books. Some clothes. Her coffee maker. I cleared out space in the closet and made room in the bathroom. I didn't ask if she was moving in. She didn't ask if it was okay. We just did it. One Saturday afternoon, we were sitting on the couch, going through pictures from the trip on my laptop. There were hundreds of them. Mountains and lakes and diners and sunsets. But my favorite ones were the ones of her. Her standing at the edge of a cliff, wind in her hair. Her laughing at something I'd said. Her asleep in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window. I want to go again, Elena said suddenly. I looked at her. Where? I don't know. Somewhere new. Somewhere we haven't been. Okay, I said. When? Soon, she said. But not yet. I'm not ready yet. I understood what she meant. We needed time to settle, to figure out what this was when we weren't living out of a van. A few weeks later, we were sitting at the kitchen table, looking at a map. It was the same one we'd used on the trip, covered in notes and circles and lines tracing where we'd been. Where should we go next? Elena asked. Montana was beautiful, I said. But we already did Montana. New Mexico, then, I said. She smiled. New Mexico sounds perfect. We didn't set a date. We didn't make a plan. We just knew we'd go. The Wanderer was still parked outside, waiting. That night, I stood on the balcony with a cup of coffee, looking down at the parking lot. The van sat there under a streetlight, dusty and beat up and absolutely perfect. Elena came outside and stood next to me. What are you thinking about? She asked. Just how weird life is, I said. 2 months ago, I barely knew you. Now I can't imagine you not being here. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I was thinking the same thing. We stood there for a while, not talking, just being. Inside, the apartment was warm and full of both of our things. The map was still spread out on the table. The Wanderer was still waiting. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried about what came next. Because whatever it was, I knew we'd figure it out together. Elena squeezed my hand. Ready to go inside? Yeah, I said. We turned and walked back into the apartment, closing the door behind us. The road would still be there tomorrow, and the day after that, and whenever we were ready to leave again. But for now, this was enough.